The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Come one, come all, to witness the most marvelous of sights. A genuine mystery is said to have been lifted from the frozen waters off the coast of Russia and straight from humanity's murky past. An icy enigma that will absolutely make you question the evolutionary origins of our most ancient ancestors. A biological specimen so fantastic that Smithsonian scientists have even co-opted the FBI to try and pry it from its proprietor's private collection. This Hyperborean hairy hominid encased in a solid block of ice is one of the world's only preserved evidence of an as-of-yet undiscovered primate species living in isolated parts of the northern hemisphere. This case file, join the theorists as they shell out 35 cents to take a peek at the sideshow attraction of the Minnesota Iceman.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing, Case File 170, the Minnesota Iceman. I'm Fat Braden.
I'm Regular Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew, if you know what I mean.
Hey.
I think you meant Vampire Zell.
Fuck. Yeah, Vampire
You
Zell.
kind of fucked that
Which
up.
is regular Zell.
Which is Regular Zell. I wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Back at it. After the holidays, we all survived.
Yep. Wow.
Maester Dan, how was your? I mean, you've got a tough one because you got birthday and Christmas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Presents.
Birthmas.
Andrew, did you grow at all? Are you still same height?
Still 5'7" and 3/4, unfortunately. But you know what? I'm going to deal with it as best I can, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Hey,
I know what you
Zell, Lucky Monkey, got any things coming up?
Lucky Monkey has a couple Lucky Monkey songs coming up in the new year. I think January 22nd, Lucky Monkey has a song being released called Mirror Man. Zeltron is also working on new music.
It wasn't Zeltron working on a song called Vampire Zell?
Space Vampires.
It was called Space Vampires featuring Vampire Zell.
Yeah,
by Zeltron.
Yeah. Is my hairline looking a little further up my forehead than normal?
Your hairline is looking up. My hairline's also looking up a little higher than normal. Andrew's got a hat on, but his hairline is probably poor.
It's creeping.
And Dan, same thing. Hat on, but his hairline's
the hat
also
is
creeping.
fused to my head at this point.
Yeah.
If you're not drunk yet, you will be soon.
So basically, some people had joked around about making a drinking game to the shows, and
I don't think they were joking. I think they were very
They
serious.
might have been serious.
well, they're drunk.
They're drunk.
These are all
Mission
key phrases
accomplished.
and things that we had to say, to get people to drink. So I think they've got to have done.
Yeah.
They're at least done their first drink.
If you want to know the rules, head over to the Facebook, the Theorite group, to search for on Facebook, and you'll find it. And the rules are there, and
100%.
And we just nailed all of them.
Well, and like tonight, I've got the fucking football game on just to make them drink the whole time.
Oh, perfect.
That's part of it, right?
Yeah, that was part of
I'm
the
just
rule.
playing my part.
Yep. Anyways,
So we're talking about a good old mystery cryptid, potential cryptid in the Minnesota Iceman.
Minnesota Iceman.
The Minnesota Iceman. I have a personal affinity for this one that I remember. I specifically remember like when I came into my interest of cryptids, like as a kid, right? I used to read a lot as a kid. I still read a lot now, but I would check out books, like constantly check out books about ghosts, about aliens, about cryptids and whatever. And you would get I would always get a couple books, and you'd get the ones about Sasquatch or Yeti or whatever. And this cryptid would always be in there. I remember seeing the photos. If you care to look it up right now, if you feel like it, or later, you'll see pretty much the quintessential picture of the Minnesota Iceman, where he has one arm up above his he's frozen in a block of ice. He has one arm raised above his head and another one like down over his midsection. And I always remember seeing sketches and pictures of this creature being exhibited, and like it always just was like,
you didn't see it? You gotta be
I've
old
never
enough to have
seen
been
it.
able to see it.
no,
Right?
what?
Aren't you old enough to be able to see that? You gotta be at least 45, right?
Yeah, okay.
Dan's not
Right after
45?
right after I got back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes
For-
sense.
Second tour.
I don't believe it because he didn't say back in
Yeah,
That's true.
No, it
It's-
was just Dan's birthday, so you got to give him. He's the fucking old gray bush of the group. So
Yeah, he's the
give
senior
him
of the
shit.
four.
it's very interesting to me, the Iceman, because the fact that they refer to it as an Iceman, when I'm like, you know what, like you hear it like a hairy hominid and all sorts of things. I'm like, why did they just jump right to like Iceman? Like I'm like, because it's frozen. Like, what if that in fact was a juvenile Bigfoot, and we've been mislabeling it as?
Well, there was some alternative names that they were tossing around. At
They
the
just
beginning.
didn't roll off the tongue.
Well,
No.
the first, some of them weren't the most appropriate. Like I think it was Dan will probably remember, but it's like the Orient mystery and all this type of shit.
Oh.
The Sikorsky monster. Or
Yeah,
something.
the Sikorsky monster. There's a couple of them that probably wouldn't play today. A little bit too racially charged on some of them. A lot of generalizations in there that you could probably. I think the word mongoloid was tossed around a bunch.
Whoa,
in a
whoa,
couple
whoa,
of
whoa,
books.
whoa.
Gary's gonna be pissed.
Gary's gonna be
Yeah.
pissed. There's 5
Um,
more one-star reviews right there just for saying the word.
So
word.
this story really begins back in late 1960s, mid 1960s, maybe 1966, 67, to kind of get a feeling of who's really involved. There are 3 kind of main personalities that we'll probably be mentioning a lot. You have Ivan T. Sanderson and Bernard Hoovelman, who are both considered to be pioneers in the area of cryptozoology. Like these guys were the OGs of bringing cryptids and cryptozoology or attempting to kind of bring it into the mainstream,
Right.
or bring scientists around to seeing the actual benefits to kind of investigating these mysterious creatures that were found or reported. Sanderson was a naturalist by trade. He was a published author, and he was also puts forth he's a proponent of the vile vortices theory, which I think we've talked about a little bit.
Sounds
other things.
familiar.
Right.
I had a question about this, about cryptozoology. Is there like because I saw I've seen online you can get degrees and diplomas for like a couple $100 and do like a course. Is there an actual course for cryptozoology, or is this one of those things where it's like, have we talked about cryptozoology enough that we could
Are we a
consider
shoe-in?
ourselves? Can we issue ourselves some cryptozoology degrees?
I would picture it's like a big fucking projector, and then it's the end of Pokemon, where it's like just the outline of the Pokemon, and you got to guess which one it is.
Yeah.
You're like, and you get at least 8 out of 10 right, and you're a fucking
Right.
cryptozoologist.
They just show you a lot of blurry photos, and then you kind of
exactly.
have to
Yeah.
make out which one it is.
Yeah, I would say we're honorary cryptozoologist experts.
Yeah. Like they show you a big blob in the water and you're like, Kraken. Duh.
Boom. Nailed it.
But my thing is, I'm like, so when because I was reading about them, like, oh, the pioneers of cryptozoology, and I'm like, are we not cryptozoologists at this point?
We're more alien theologists, but we are alien theologists, even though we have theologians. We've talked more aliens, but yes, I would say we're honorary members of the cryptozoology.
So you heard it here from the University of Zeltron.
I'm a junior theologian.
So I'm gonna. There's a couple like online universities that offer a degree and diploma in cryptozoology. I'm gonna see if we can get honorary degrees from them.
Just based
I'll
on
email them and be like, hey, listen.
Just based on
you
the
can
podcast.
hang it next to your minister fucking diploma that you got too.
Yeah.
Was it dudism?
Yeah.
If you didn't know, Braden's honorary. He's a dudist priest, and he can actually marry you in some places.
I can. This is yes. Technically, all places.
All places.
If there is someone there as well who can sign off.
Somebody who can sign the paper.
When he does it, he also does like a really good Paul Bearer impression at the same time. So
I put on
really
a lot
good.
of weight for it.
Shake your chin
Shakes
around a little bit.
I'm not a wrestler.
We are gathered here today.
The Undertaker.
That was my question on cryptozoology.
There we go. Minnesota Iceman. Back we come.
So December 9th, 1968, you have Ivan Sanderson, who receives a phone call from a Mr. Terry Cullen, who introduces himself as a herpetologist of some sort. He is owner of a vivarium in Milwaukee, and he had met Sanderson before. They had knew each other in previous encounters
At a herpetology convention.
Sure, I probably because I think Sanderson was known that he had actually owned a zoo before, like he'd actually ran a zoo. So I mean, maybe they had crossed paths professionally. I wasn't 100% clear how that happened, but they knew each other. And he called Sanderson to tell him about this exhibition that was that had occurred in August of 1967 and at the Wisconsin State Fair. And he had seen some type of creature there on exhibit. And this same creature he had seen more recently had been exhibited at the International Cattle Fair in Chicago. And he wanted Sanderson to go take a look. What are we doing?
What was that?
Making everybody drink.
I was making everyone finish their drinks by putting up a written note that said Drubaka.
That was backwards. I was dyslexic. I couldn't understand what it said.
Oh, do I have my camera flip? No, I have camera flip.
You got to write it mirror version.
Now you have to drink backwards.
But yes, Drubaka. Continue, Dan.
So Sanderson goes and manages to get a hold of one of the people who knows of the exhibit and knows who owns the exhibit and who's running it for lack of a better word, I guess. The person
the
that they
Carney King.
The person who's running this exhibit is a Mr. Hansen. Right. So you have Mr. Hansen, who is a resident of Minnesota, he's retired Air Force, Frank D. Hansen, living out of Winona County, Minnesota. And he has this thing on exhibit. Appears to, for all appearances, is a frozen corpse.
Come on, come see the amazing frozen man in ice for just $5.99. You can get your popcorns, your gigs, your
25
bags.
cents.
25 cents.
Yes, 25
You can get a
cents.
peep at the Iceman.
The missing link between man and ape.
If this doesn't interest you, you can also see the world's oldest tractor for 5 cents.
Well, that was
Yes.
first. That was first.
Well, he had both.
But start with the tractor. Then he was approached by the
He had the
mysterious
world's
man.
oldest tractor and the Iceman. Wow.
This guy's a legend.
It's a regular P.T. Barnum.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Iceman the musical.
So when Cullen talked to Sanderson, he told Sanderson that the origins, or that he knew of this thing, how Hansen had come into possession of this giant block with a frozen hairy creature inside of it. It was said that a Chinese cargo port had taken it off the hands of some Soviet sailors who had got it, pulled it out of the water, freezing cold water, and a block of ice, and then they had pulled into a port in Hong Kong, and then they had offloaded it or had it confiscated from them, and then that is where it kind of hung out in some kind of contraband lockup in Hong Kong, where Hansen managed to acquire it.
Wait, so the port authorities found a frozen man on a ship and said, "Hey, you can't bring that in here. We'll just hold on to it."
Well, that's what Cullen originally told
First story.
Sanderson. When Sanderson managed to meet up with Hansen for the first time, and then conducted an interview with a preliminary interview, asked him like where he got this. The story changed a little bit. I guess maybe Cullen had gotten some things wrong since the story was perhaps secondhand. He would have,
and they were all racist back in the day. He's like, same.
Hansen told him that he had gotten it from actually the Hong Kong bit stayed the same, but instead of a Soviet trawler, it was actually Japanese sailors. Like Japanese sailors had, or a fishing boat had managed to pull this thing out of the water, frozen in a block of ice, and then he managed to get it, and somehow and then they sold it legally to this merchant in Hong Kong, where he managed to get it. So then the story eventually changes a little bit more, where Hansen says that it was an agent for some sort of Californian film industry who had actually spotted this ice block during his trip to kind of the China, like the East Asia and those areas.
And if I'm not, maybe I'm incorrect, but this is after he's pressed on it further. So he's told the story that, hey, no, it was the
Soviet.
This
Soviet
way
started.
And then as rightly so, when you have the oldest tractor and an Iceman, you're starting to gain popularity. So more people are coming around. That's when the story kind of turns. They're like, so wait, the port authorities picked it up, and that's when his story changes even further.
So Hansen goes ahead and says that he's not actually the owner of it, as was previously thought. It's actually owned by an unnamed, anonymous, rich partner benefactor who owns the specimen and has kind of just let Hansen take it and then exhibit it at all these state and county fairs.
Right.
Now, there are some rumors on who this mysterious rich Californian is.
Who's that?
None other than Jimmy Stewart.
What?
Jimmy Stewart?
Fucking right,
Yes,
buddy.
that name is thrown around a bit.
Jay Stu.
I don't know what they have to back that up. I'm not 100% sure. I know I saw that name pop up in my research. I didn't really go deep into that one, but
Like, we're talking about like the
Andrew,
actor. The actor
what did
Jimmy
they have
Stewart.
to back it up?
Basically, the fact that Jimmy Stewart's got fuck you money. So he just, hey, why not? I'm going to buy this cool fucking thing.
I'm gonna buy this corpse from across the sea and
Yeah, why
ship
not?
it back to this.
Apparently, he collected a lot of like odd antiquities and random shit.
Right. Now, so because like Hansen was approached by a man at his tent and said like, "Hey, call me. I have a proposition for you about a exhibit."
He's like,
that
I've
wasn't
seen
Jimmy
your
Stewart, was it?
Sir, I've seen your tractor. It's amazing. And I believe that I have an item that you would be interested in. And he's like, is it the second oldest tractor? Because that would put this over the top. And he's like, even better, sir.
He's like, listen, I got fucking drunk. I bought this fucking giant frozen hairy guy. My wife won't let me keep it in the fucking house.
You need it.
I don't know what else to do with it.
You're the guy. I've sought you out across the nation. You're the guy. You need to
You're the
take this
guy. The man. I was
I
was
think
gonna
you've
wait.
got what it takes.
And what it takes is the oldest tractor.
If
Please
you can
come
make
to
the
my
oldest
house.
tractor interesting to pull in customers, wait till you see this.
If you are selling that, sir, for a nickel, I believe you could fetch 2 dimes, no, a quarter for what I'm about to
up
show
to
you.
1 quarter.
Hey, listen, did you know that fucking Jimmy Stewart has an accent like that, or did you just fucking pull that out of your ass?
I was trying to do a Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, okay. I was
going for
like,
Jimmy
well, because that's your go-to is that accent. So I was like, I don't know if he's just
my
a little
go-
down to
my
that.
my go-to is like, I would have been like, well, I do declare that I
that's
have
fair.
an antiquity that you might find
I'm impressed.
Very, very intriguing.
That's somewhere in the middle. That's perfect.
I'm impressed.
So Hoovelman and Sanderson managed to set up kind of like a private exhibition for themselves through Hansen to examine closely this thing without all the paying customers and people coming in. They got some alone time with this to take as many photos and make as many sketches and drawings as they could for a while. So Hoovelman is he wrote an entire book about this, about his experience with the Iceman, and he is, to this day, or before he died, like up until he died, he always supported the idea that this thing had been alive, like this thing that was encased in ice.
They were convinced.
He was convinced that this was a living thing at some point.
One time.
At one
Not
point, 'cause
currently, but at
during
one
their
time.
examination, didn't like they had a light against the glass or whatever, and the light like cracked or something, and like they smelled like a stench of rotting corpse.
Right. That is one of the reasons that he cited for being convinced that this was something alive at some time, that there had been the smell of putrefaction, and he knew that smell.
They went into it as skeptics, like this is probably like a latex model or like some type of model, but then
some type of taxidermic nightmare. Like it's because when you look at it, it's very weird and it's very strange. Like the description they put of it is like when he saw it, it was undoubtedly a man or a hominid of some type, tall, well muscled. He estimated it was probably about 6 feet tall, and it seemed to kind of have the same proportions as a normal human being, a Homo sapien, but it was as hairy, like it had hair all over its body, like a gorilla or a chimpanzee. One of the strange things that one of the other remarkable features that he found interesting was like the hands. The hands were extraordinarily long.
It had they had like a heel, like like on the heel of our feet we have like a big like sole, like thick skin, and on the heel of like quadrupeds like apes and stuff, they have like a big heel on the hands, and they noticed like a long hand with a big heel on like the base of the hand. They're like, oh, this must be some type of, it looks ape-like. That's what they thought.
Right. And they very much thought it was some type of kind of quadruped, or at least that's perhaps what its natural environment was. They found a type of like the feet had the features of something that walked on rocks. Like they found it to be a type of like a mountaineer or a rock climber.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been perfectly adapted to.
Yeah, it looked different than an ape of like the savannah or like of the jungle. It looked like the feet were more suited to gripping rocks or like rougher, like not necessarily climbing trees, like climbing rocks.
The fucking teeth were really weird too, right? They had those big, thick, square teeth.
Right. He had really big, thick, square teeth, and he didn't have the typical like sharpened canines that kind of stuck out a little bit of normal primates like chimpanzees and gorillas that
or
you
like
would normally
orangutan.
see. Or orangutan.
Yeah.
So another thing that was weird about this creature, what they had found, was that it was like, I can't really. It's hard to explain. Like it had certain injuries in its body. Like it had certain injuries that they observed.
Frozen
so you had
ice.
like one injury that they described was that in the arm that was kind of stretched above the head and kind of wrapped around the top of the head, there was like what they observed to what seemed to be the ulna. Is that correct? Like sticking out of the ulna sticking out of the like it seemed to have a break in the forearm.
In the forearm.
The ulna is the bone that runs underneath.
Right.
Radius is on top.
So that's what they were saying, that they perhaps suspected that the ulna was poking through the skin. There was an injury there. And then he also noticed that the eyes didn't appear to be in the sockets.
At least one of them seemed to be out of the socket. At least one.
Because they couldn't see the other one.
What do you think? Like from an injury, or the fact that maybe a scavenger might have taken the eye out at some point?
Tough to tell, probably.
Hoovelman's theory was that perhaps because there seemed to be evidence, or they had gotten reports from Cullen before, who had managed to convince Sanson at some point to kind of flip the entire ice coffin over, and he got a view of the back of it, the rear of it, and it seemed that the back of the head had been kind of blown out. So
Like
Hoovelman's theory was that perhaps this creature had been shot.
So
in
like
the
wound
eye.
on the back of the head,
Yeah.
front of the eye.
So you had the shockwave of
Good shot.
the bullet entering the skull, takes that eye out, and the other eye
It
pops out.
does a
Pops.
little ricochet and pops one eye out, blows the back of the head out.
I mean, like if you're taking, let's say you've got to take out like a bear or some other creature as large as a fucking Sasquatch or something like that. Like that's the perfect shot.
Gotta go
'Cause you
through
can
the eye.
how many times can you shoot a bear without it even really fucking doing anything?
You need a
if you-
large caliber bullet, ideally through a soft portion of the skull, like temple or eye.
See,
Yeah,
the
right?
issue right away though is with this now eliminates any kind of story that this is some sort of prehistoric man or missing link, because I don't think Neanderthals were running around with fucking,
What?
high
What if?
caliber hounds.
Well, what if it was like some type of
What if it was
sling?
Goliath?
What? Yeah.
Took
What
a
if
fucking slingshot?
Yeah,
to
a
the
fucking
eye.
sling, some type of sling, or like,
Yeah.
hey,
There's
people
Okay,
can throw
first off-
rocks.
Spear?
People can throw
First
rocks
off-
real
Pulled it
hard,
out?
real hard.
Are you trying to sit here and tell me that you could sling a rock so hard that you hit someone in the eye and it blow out the back of their head?
Not me.
I can't, but maybe David could.
Not
Maybe a
me.
Neanderthal? Like
Maybe a
one of them-
Neanderthal. Dude, they were much stronger pound for pound than modern
Listen,
humans.
There's
don't
only
think
one
that-
way to test it.
No,
There's only one
they
way to
weren't
test
using tools, right?
Listen, there's-
Neanderthals weren't using tools like
There's
that.
only one way to test it. We have a living, breathing thing that's as close as a fucking Neanderthal as you can get, and his name's Mr. Conspiracy. Let's get that fucking guy to throw a rock.
Throw a rock.
Let's get some ballistics gel.
Yeah.
Strap it
Let's
up.
let's put a couple sensors
Have
in
him
there.
whip rocks at it for an hour.
Yeah, see what the pounds per square inch are on the throw, and we can deduce from that if you could puncture an eye and pop the other eye out with a sling rock.
And and blow out the back of the skull.
Well, maybe the black of
Is it for sure blown out? I didn't read that. I didn't see that.
I couldn't.
anywhere.
It wasn't for
By
sure.
the looks of it, that's what they said. It
looks
looked
of
like
it.
an exit
Okay.
wound in the back of the skull.
By the looks of it, but they couldn't tell for sure.
Well, it's frozen.
Yeah, but when
they
you
couldn't
have
actually get
one
in there.
eye that's gone, one eye that's like, and there's blood, one eye is gone, and there's a hole, and then the back of the head, there's a bigger hole. That's a
I thought there.
pretty
So they know
good-
They know definitively that there's a hole in the back of the head.
from when they flipped it over. This is what he's saying he saw is an exit wound.
Maybe.
So for sure we saw an. That's what I'm
So there
asking.
was-
Like I
there
don't
was
know. Was
evidence
it
that
blurry because
observed-
it's in fucking 3 fucking inches or 3 feet of ice? Like
They observed like there was pooling of blood like behind the head.
There was.
That's what Hoovelman and Sanderson saw only the front of the creature. They only saw the front of the specimen. The backside was only observed by Cullen previously. Like I don't know, he had managed Hansen to kind of get it flipped over, but he had convinced him to let him flip it over and take a look at it. And that's what
that's
he said.
probably
that
where the
he had
crack
seen.
came from. They were trying to flip it and it fell and fucking smashed it by accident. Oh yeah, it was a lamp. Like freak accident. I don't know what happened.
So immediately, kind of within the span, a very short time, Hoovelman goes through these kinds of theories of what it possibly could be, and then he kind of thinks his way through it and logics his way through a couple theories, thinking it could not possibly be this, and why it's not that. So the first thing was this thing had kind of been marketed or had been presented as a missing link. This thing had been frozen for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, and it was perhaps some sort of Neanderthal man. And Hoovelman thinks that no, it can possibly be that because if it's frozen, the way that it's presented, it's frozen in a solid block of ice. And even if you freeze something in a solid block of ice like that, once decomposition starts, it's not going to stop.
Not completely. No.
Right.
Not at temperature, like not at temperatures that exist constantly on our planet.
Yeah, naturally on Earth.
Yeah.
Constantly.
If it was if you got shot in the head and then like thrown into deep space and his mind's 270, yeah, you're probably never going to change. But on Earth, chances
Wouldn't
of
you
it being
shatter at some point though?
I don't think you would shatter. I think you just well, I guess you would shatter if like you got hit by a piece of space debris when you're that
Are
frozen.
you telling me Time Cop lied to me?
I know the whole time we're
No.
talking about this, all I can think about is this fucking guy was in the same prison that fucking Stallone and fucking Phoenix were in Demolition Man. That's the only way I'm thinking.
Okay.
That's it. Makes sense.
Another theory was that perhaps this was a body of perhaps a indigenous person who had been retrieved or died off the northern islands of Japan. There's a tribe up there known as the Ainu that live up there, and they are kind of people knew them back then as being quite hairy, but Hoovelman says it was always over exaggerated, the hairiness of these people, and there's no way it was one of those people.
Well, did they have the toes? Was the toes the same?
No.
Of like the rock climbing toes?
It's definitely not one of them. Like it didn't even resemble close to like a Homo sapien. So it's like that. So
Right.
he thinks perhaps that this thing is another theory that he remembers hearing about was the hybrid man-ape theory, the Soviet man-ape theory, Stalin's army of,
Where they built them?
ape people.
Where they did like the genetic hybrids of ape men.
Right, where Soviet scientists were
Fuck, I
running
didn't
around
even think about
inseminating
that.
women with
Neither
gorilla
did I.
sperm to make
That's what it
ape
is.
men to work in salt mines, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that makes sense because if that was Cold War times, that was like peak Soviet 60s.
Yeah,
now
and
we're
he
getting
reasons
somewhere.
his way out of that one pretty quick, saying that that's just not possible. That just doesn't work.
Well, we'll keep it. We'll
It's
keep it
never
on the back
happened.
burner. Keep it up there just in case.
Yeah, okay. So it's probable, or is it possible?
It's possible, sure.
And then he's also his last kind of theory is that this is not something that is very easily fabricated. This is not something fake that you could just make up easily, right? I believe he asked Sanderson when they were doing their preliminary investigation of this creature, when they were examining it, he asked Sanderson kind of point blank, could you do this? Because Sanderson had extensive experience with taxidermy working for the British Museum, because he would bring back specimens and he would, clean them and mount them for the museum themselves. So he asked him, could you do this? And Sanderson responded, like, I could make a exact replica of this. The things that I would have to do, though, would be very difficult, because you'd have to find the skull of a human that looked somewhat, perhaps he a microcephalic, so like a tiny
Small
little
head.
headed person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you would have to take hands that could perhaps, like, you could probably take a primate's hands, but you would have to stretch them out. He was saying you could do it, like, it's possible. There are tools that do that. You'd have to stretch them out, then you'd have to stretch the skin over them to make them look the way that they did, and use the body and torso of perhaps like an adolescent or full grown an adolescent gorilla or a full grown chimpanzee, like either or. And then so he explains what he could possibly do, all these things for it. But Hoovelman says that even if you did that, you wouldn't be able to reproduce the tone of the skin, because the skin is a white color, or appears to be. And gorillas and full grown chimpanzees have darker skin. They have dark skin under them, unless it's an
Under the fur.
albino chimpanzee, and which in that case they would
It's
have to
even
take dark
rarer.
hair
Or
and
you
then
just
put it
fucking
into
bleach them.
Bleach the skin?
Yeah, I mean, you're already fucking.
But then he
bending
would
his
have
fingers
blonde
and shit.
hair. Then he'd have blonde hair.
They put the hair on after.
Orange hair. Yeah,
So you
probably
shave
orange.
the ape, bleach
Yeah.
the skin,
Yeah,
reattach the hair.
yeah.
Well, if you're going through this much of trouble to try and create some type of hoax, let's say, because that is, a lot of people say it could have been a hoax. That's a fucking elaborate, sophisticated hoax.
Yeah, that's a
I mean,
lot
listen,
of work.
something tells me that the world's oldest fucking tractor isn't pulling in that many fucking nickels. All right,
Hey,
you had to do something.
I would pay 25 cents to see that tractor.
Why
Let me
not?
tell you something.
Well, Sanderson estimated that perhaps because he wanted to make an effort, or he wanted to make an offer to buy this specimen from Hansen. And I think he estimated that you were perhaps making $50,000 a year off of that. Like
Back in
taking
the
it to account-
60s,
back in
that's
the
good
60s.
fucking
dough.
bank.
Good dough.
Oh, wow.
But Sanderson was positive that he could raise money equal to or more than Hansen would make in 3 years of exhibiting this creature. And he
Gotta
said,
play
I
the
can
long
raise this
game, though.
money and I will offer it to you and I will buy it from you.
Got to play the long game, man.
So Hansen says he has to relay this offer through his benefactor. And of course, the
Jimmy
benefactor,
Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart, perhaps, maybe Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, 100%.
And he comes back only to come back and say that he won't sell it for any price.
He doesn't need the money.
Well, that's crazy because Hansen was approached by this guy, and Hansen has never publicly come forward and said who this guy was, right? He's never said.
He's taken that to his grave. He has never said who that person was.
He never said who came out. He's like, listen, son, I have a great proposition for you. I think you'd be perfect for it. Here's my card, and call me later. And Hansen,
Why the secrecy? I don't understand. Like, why is the guy like, you can't fucking tell anybody?
dude,
man.
this is similar to when we did the
It's the exact same thing as Alien Autopsy. It's a hairy dude
I wasn't
that's been
going to
frozen.
say Alien Autopsy. I was going to say the Georgia Guidestones, where that one rich guy comes into the town. He's like, listen, I want to do this. Gives him the fake name, gives him the money, and is never really heard from again. It's kind of like the same type of thing. This guy's like, I got this exhibit. You can I think you'll do good at it, and that's it. He never gives his name. The guy's that's crazy. The guy's never been disclosed who he was.
Doesn't exist.
He doesn't exist. That doesn't
He's
make sense.
fake.
Like, if you think about this,
Doesn't exist.
let's just look at that point there for a second. He's saying that this is like perhaps a big time Hollywood movie star. That's
Okay.
like he alludes to. Why the fuck would he give this thing? Because he wants to show it to the people, to the guy with the fucking oldest tractor. When if he has this money, like, why not license it to like anywhere
Believe
else
It or
where it's
Not.
gonna get more eyes on it? You know what I mean?
Rather than just some sideshow.
Yeah, that like the sideshow for the guy who has the oldest tractor just to me seems like what he's like. You seem real down to earth, sir. I'm a big time Hollywood movie
Maybe he
star.
wanted to start small.
I mean, are we even convinced that this guy really, truly does have the world's oldest tractor?
He claims it's
Maybe
the
he's just a
first,
fucking grifter.
Maybe it's an old tractor.
not before the Model A or whatever he said.
Holy fuck! Are you telling me that this whole time we've been talking about this guy, he perhaps hasn't been in possession of the world's oldest tractor?
I don't think so. I don't fucking think so. Just gonna say it.
That's fucking unbelievable.
That's a whole nother case file on its own.
Holy. Case file 171. Who is in possession
Of the world's
of
oldest
the
tractor.
oldest tractor?
So February rolls around. Sanderson and Hoovelman published their findings in a couple of scientific journals. Hoovelman takes his to a couple of in European journals. Sanderson publishes his article in Argosy magazine about reporting on this strange creature that could perhaps be the missing link or something. It is something. They 100% believed that what they had saw in that room was an incredible creature and that deserved to be studied by
What
real scientists.
Dude,
How many
when you look
how
at
many professional card carrying cryptozoologists do we think were back in the mid 60s?
Well, there's 4 now, so there's got to.
Okay. So is there any possibility that these fucking guys just really truly just wanted this to be real so fucking bad because they have to justify their fucking existence as cryptozoologists?
When you look at the pictures that they like, if you go look at all the pictures, it looks real, but it's hard to tell because it's through glass case and through ice.
Well, exactly. How can you truly know that that's going to be real unless you actually thaw it out and get an opportunity to fucking look at it? I don't understand.
That's to Hoovelman's point. Like he never 100% is like in on this thing. He's like, I believe this is something that needs to be studied. His approach to kind of cryptozoology, at least in one of the books that I read, his personal account of this thing, he puts his motivations as being that we need to study these things. These reports and stuff are still, they still warrant examination because even if it's something weird, like even if it's the report is some creature, it's a rare creature. Like you have, reports of sea serpents,
Right.
and then perhaps it's not a sea serpent, but it's still an oarfish. It's still like a 20-foot long oarfish, which you do not see very often.
Rare. Yeah.
These things still need to be investigated because they're still interesting. That's kind of his approach to it. So he always wanted to, he just was always trying to make the case that we should take these things seriously, no matter how crazy they are, because it might be something interesting. It might not be what you want it to be. It might not be the missing link. It might not be Bigfoot. Hell, it might be some type of weird taxidermy Frankenstein, but that's still kind of nuts, and that's still a mystery that needs to be solved.
Well, that's the way like you should think about like these type of creatures like Bigfoot and stuff. Like maybe they don't exist or whatever, but maybe maybe some of the scenarios or some of the cases deserve a little more scientific inquiry. Like at least look at it, and then if like you come to it and there's no evidence or whatever, then like okay, well that's like whatever. So it seems to be that's what that was his direction, which is the good way.
Which did end up happening though, right?
Yeah. So does he bring scientists in? And
Yeah, he brings in the best scientists. Hoovelman was well known throughout the zoology world. Like he had connections to a whole bunch of people. He was personal friends with a lot of high-ranking academics and things like this. One of those people happened to be Dr. John R. Napier, who at the time that they were examining the Minnesota Iceman, he was the lead scientist at the primate biology program at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. So this guy was an expert on primate biology, and it was probably the one person that you really wanted to come in and look at something. If you're like, this is some weird monkey, you're the guy who should be looking at it.
Right. Okay, just before we talk about that guy, let's I need a quick refill. Let's take a quick beer break. We'll be right back.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
So they decide to bring in Dr. John Napier, who is the lead scientist and primate specialist at the Smithsonian Institution.
Boom.
And this is the one person that, for some reason, this kind of triggers some type of a nervous reaction with Hansen.
I wonder why.
Hansen gets wind of this, that the Smithsonian is coming to look. Like they're a U.S. federal institution coming to look at this exhibit, this specimen. He also gets a kind of feeling that because it's the Smithsonian does have the ability to bring in or rope in resources from the FBI, that if they perhaps declared this creature, this exhibit, as a kind of cultural of supreme cultural importance.
Yeah.
That you would need this that the FBI could come in and potentially confiscate this thing against the will of the owners. They could just go in and take it.
It's about like murder case or something.
Yeah.
Something like
potentially, if it is perhaps a human or some, if it is judged to be human, whatever this.
Hansen immediately is like, "Come one, come all, see the world's first murder, frozen in ice, 35 cents."
So, as John Napier is coming into town to come look at this thing, when he gets there, Hansen reportedly tells him that right before he had arrived, or a few days before Napier had arrived to come look at this thing upon their agreed meeting, the benefactor had shown up and had told Hansen that he is, I'm taking it back because of all this attention, because of all this stuff that has happened. I'm taking it back. I'm taking it back. No one's ever going to see it. I'm done with this, but I'm going to leave you with a replica.
So he kept showing, in his word, he kept showing a replica of the real version.
Yes.
So he kept touring around with a fake version of the Minnesota Iceman Was the replica as good, or were people like seeing through it?
From all accounts, people were like right away. They were like, because this thing when it came out was actually quite amazing by all accounts of people who had seen it. So when people were going to see it numerous times when it was in town because they'd see it and they'd go, holy shit, you got to come see this thing. They got a fucking Iceman down here in Minnesota.
Minnesota, eh?
So friends would come down, they'd go see it multiple times. And then when it switched, by all accounts, people were like, yeah, this isn't the same thing that I saw.
Looks fake.
It looks fake.
So there was never any like photos of the original to compare this one to? Like, that's what I don't understand. This whole time, we've never seen any comparisons or like, hey, look, this one fucking was the real one. Look how different the replica looks.
I've only seen the photos of the ones that Hoovelman took at their initial examination of the specimen. Those are the only pictures that I've always seen, and I haven't seen any really other ones. I've seen one or two that they said were unreleased or had been recently been found, but they all look pretty similar to what they were. So some people think that the differences that people noticed or the inconsistencies between the two specimens, they kind of explain it away by saying that perhaps the thing had been thawed out, then refrozen, or the melting of the ice had allowed the body to kind of shift.
Yeah,
perhaps like letting the lips pull back more, or even perhaps like putrefaction had been going on.
So further signs of decay, basically.
Yeah. So that's one of the ways that they kind of explain that it perhaps looked different.
Yeah, it seemed like I seen it this time. I seen it another time. It looks like his arm might have been in a different position, or his lips were pulled back, or his eye didn't look so fucked up.
He is traveling with this thing, right? Like, I don't know. Like, could maybe at some points there was some sort of substandard cooling systems in the place he traveled to, or something.
Well, think about it. If you're hauling a 6-foot freezer, pretty much is what he would have to do. Then that takes a lot of power. Like off battery power, you can't really run freezers for that long of time, especially back then, like especially in the 60s. Like battery power was not near what it is today. So yeah, I guess if you're traveling across the country, or you're trying to store it over the winter, like all it would take would be like one power outage, or like one like small portion where it goes like above freezing for a little bit, and all the skin would start peeling back, and it would be and then you refreeze, and then it looks a little bit different.
Yeah, and in any case, Napier felt, traveling all the way out there to go look at this thing. He had been invited out there to make his examination and get an opportunity to look at what had perhaps put his eyes on what is perhaps a missing link. He is visibly frustrated. Like he had written memos and correspondence with Hoovelman, and he's frustrated, and he's feeling like he's been jerked around. And I can imagine how he's feeling, where it's like, I am the lead primatologist at one of the most prestigious institutions, zoological institutions.
There he is. We got
Minnesota Iceman. You froze him.
Minnesota Iceman's live on camera.
That's him.
We got him.
There he is. Bring him in.
Yeah.
Bring him in.
There he is, right
There's
there.
the Minnesota Iceman.
Oh my god.
Oh shit.
Well, we have the Minnesota Iceman right here. What's it like to be alive, Minnesota Iceman?
It's incredible.
He just leaves Minnesota Iceman out. That was not Mr. Conspiracy. That was legit Minnesota Iceman.
Or Mr. Conspiracy is the Minnesota Iceman.
It could be also.
I feel sorry for anyone who's playing that drinking game, because I believe that one's a drink one from your shoe.
Ooh.
Oh, that sucks.
In the terms of Aussie English, that's called a shoey.
Sucks to suck.
I don't know the rules, and I didn't look them up
Shoot
beforehand.
the boot. Shoot the boot.
Shoey.
That's what happens when you win one man of the
Thanks, man.
match. When you play rugby, you got to shoot the boot. It's fucking gross.
Yeah, it's funny because I just seen my doors open. I was like, oh, come on in.
Come on.
That's unfortunate.
For you.
So Napier feels like he's getting run around by Hansen. And so he manages to go all the way up the chain in the Smithsonian to like the secretary, the general secretary. These are like the head scientists of one of the world's most prestigious zoological associations, whatever. And they managed to send a personal telegram and personally request they officially asked J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, to help them in locating this missing specimen. And
Good thing
if
he's
they
not
find
busy
it,
at all.
to take it.
Yeah, he's got nothing
Well,
on his
he was
plate.
probably super inconvenienced. He probably had to take off his lingerie, put on real clothes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
He's like, I've got minorities to oppress. Like, I can't be fucking around looking for your Minnesota Bigfoot man.
He's-
That's probably where the M word came from.
maybe.
He's probably the one that said it.
But around mid-April, the FBI gets back to the Smithsonian and telling them, like, well, we can't really do anything because there's no real evidence of a crime. And it's outside of our jurisdiction. We're not really sure anything wrong has been done, so we can't really do anything. So we're keeping an eye on it.
It's
but
not
we can't do
necessarily a
shit.
federal
He's like,
crime yet.
unfortunately, we're the real law enforcement and not the crypto law enforcement. We can't do nothing.
And so this replica goes on being exhibited by Hansen, either claiming that it's the real thing or saying it's a replica of the real thing, still passing it off to, from fairground to fairground, and, charging his 35 cents to come and see it. Eventually they get the Smithsonian even got phone calls. Their public relations person, George Berkley, got a call that said that there was a director in a wax museum in California, and this person told him that one of his employees, which he could not reveal for privacy purposes, had actually collaborated in 1967 to actually fabricate that ape man made it from foam rubber, and he
Really?
had worked with Frank Hansen in order to create this thing. And one of the other employees had inserted the fake hair of a bear into this foam rubber replica.
What
So
about
it had never been real.
what about all the the elongated hands and the heel on the palm of on the hand like an ape and shit? That was all done post production.
Now, was that the father and son duo, the special effects guys that worked for Disney and Fox?
I'm not those ones. I'm not sure if it's those ones.
Because those, I don't know if I'm skipping
Because they
ahead
got
here, but-
they got another call as well. They got at least 2 calls from people
Yeah.
saying that they had worked on this fakery. They had created this thing out of foam rubber. It was a special effects. It was a wax model, whatever.
Well, because one of those, so the father and son duo that worked for Fox and Disney doing special effects, the ones that came forward and said that they were the ones that worked on this fucking dummy for Hansen. Oddly enough, they were the ones that did all the mammoths and dinosaurs for the La Brea tar pits. And do you know who one of the main funders for the La Brea tar pits was?
Who's that?
Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy fucking Stewart.
Get the fuck out of here.
Bringing it back.
Get the fuck out.
all the way back.
Jimmy Stewart funding the tar
J
pits?
Stu. Fucking J Stu.
So even though that Napier they get these phone calls, the Smithsonian gets these, Napier kind of shrugs it off, saying that these are actually, he believes that these are ploys to discourage the Smithsonian from the matter, to get them to give up their pursuit of this, of the actual specimen and trying to get it. So now you get to the summer of 1969. Hansen is traveling.
69.
That's part of the song. I'm pretty sure Minnesota Iceman is in that song.
That was referenced.
Well, a couple of guys from school and the Minnesota Iceman.
So you have Hansen traveling across the Canadian border, and he was traveling with his exhibit to take it to places like Calgary, Edmonton, and Winnipeg. And as he's trying to return
Terrible
back
places.
to the United States, the U.S. Customs stopped him and they refused to let him enter the United States, on the grounds that they believed he was carrying some type of humanoid creature, and that in order to transport a humanoid creature or a human corpse across,
You need a little paperwork.
Yeah, you need some paperwork from the U.S. Surgeon General that certifies you, to certify you to transport this human body.
No kidding.
I'm really disappointed that I missed that episode of fucking Border Patrol. That would have been good.
It's hilarious because I'm like, the Canadian, but it does make sense though. Like if you think about it logistically, if he's trying to cross the border into Canada and U.S. officials are like, "Hey, sir, you're not going anywhere with that cadaver," like unless you like, they have no power over him to do anything. He's just like, "Well, I'm not going to Canada then. Fuck you." He crosses, Canadian officials are like, "Hey, we don't care whatever."
Pretty fucking neat, if you ask me, pal.
Oh,
Go for it.
Hey, did you know the circus is coming? That's what would happen.
This guy can have my fucking 25 cents.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that
fucking
much.
Are
corner.
they gonna have the oldest tractor? They have the world's oldest tractor there.
This guy's the owner of the oldest tractor. But when he's coming back, the U.S. Customs holds all the power at that point. To me, this was such a good ploy by them to get this information because they're like, you may be carrying a cadaver based on your claims. You're not allowed to come home unless you, do these things for us and answer these questions. They have all the power. It was actually an ingenious move. They didn't have to lift a finger. It might have been the FBI that even tipped off the Border Patrol to do this.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
Yeah,
they
we
did.
know this guy's going across border. When he comes back, let's flag him.
Let's flag him. Right?
So what
So
happened when he
perfect.
came back?
So Hansen goes ahead and tells the guys, "No, I'm not going to let you." Or, well, initially he tells them that it's a fake. It's not real.
Latex model.
It's a latex model. It's not real. And they say, "Well, that's fine. Just let us examine it. Let us take a small sample and, a little postmortem biopsy or something.
Yep.
And then we'll let you through." And he says, "No, I'm not going to let you do that. That would ruin the exhibit. I'm not going to do that." And so Border Patrol says, "Well, okay, fine. We can't let you in." So Hansen goes and makes some phone calls, including even calling Sanderson, who I guess they had kind of become good acquaintances at this point. And I guess they maintain correspondence. And Sanderson told him, "Hey, okay, biopsy, don't want to do a biopsy. That's fine. Let him do an x-ray.
Sure.
Let him do an x-ray. And if it's just a brand-filled rubber replica, like you're saying, then the customs
bones.
take the x-ray, they look at it, hey, they let you through, no problem, no damage, whatever." Hansen says, "Fuck you."
Get the fuck out of here.
He says, "No, I'm not going to do that either." So Hansen decides to call the owner, the benefactor, in California.
I think we've established who that is by now. Come on.
Stewart. It's
on.
fucking Stewart.
Come on. It's fucking Jay Stu.
Allegedly Jimmy Stewart.
Jimothy Stewart.
Timothy Stewart. And apparently this person with their army of excellent lawyers, came to intervene. He even called his senator, Walter Mondale, in Washington, D.C. to report this, whatever I guess classified it as
This
harassment
slight.
or something.
The slight against him, the oldest
It's the man with
tractor
the world's
and
oldest
the
tractor.
Iceman.
You can't do that shit.
He's got a lot of pull. You got the world's oldest tractor? Fuck, man. You got some people on your speed dial that the regular Joes don't.
No one's got the world's oldest tractor, man. That's a 1 in a million.
Not even John Deere himself.
Nah.
Not even Stanson. Or Anson, or whatever the fuck his name is.
You'd think this would be the end of it. You think he's stuck there. There's all they can do. There's nothing he can do. Wrong. 24 hours later, he's through the border.
How?
They let him through.
Because fucking the world's oldest tractor gets you diplomatic immunity. You're untouchable.
Listen, he called the next town, which was in the southern states or something. He's like, "Listen, I'm going to have to cancel the world's oldest tractor because the goddamn U.S. Border Patrol won't let me through." And he's like, "Just wait give me 24
Calls
hours.
the governor. Calls the governor up.
Listen, good sir, you give me 24 hours to settle this mess."
So after this incident, Hansen calls a press conference and he tells them that this Iceman is finally going to be submitted through a rigorous scientific analysis with a laboratory specially created and built by the owner, the benefactor, allegedly Jimmy Stewart.
Yep.
Timothy.
Timothy
Stewart.
Stewart.
And this is what's going to happen. So it's going to be revealed to the world finally what this thing is. And months go by, nothing absolutely no news about it. There's no announcements about what the find is, the scientists. And then in July 1970, there is this article in the American magazine titled Saga. And it is a long article about Hansen. The title being, I killed the ape man creature of Whiteface.
What? Of Whiteface?
Of Whiteface.
Excuse me?
The story published in there is a story told by Hansen that apparently in 1960, during deer hunting season, in the swampy region of Whiteface Reservoir, which is about 100 kilometers north of Duluth, Minnesota, this is where Hansen had observed 3 of these creatures in a small clearing after he had begun to track a deer that he had shot earlier. He saw 3 of these creatures, not just the one that they had that was frozen in the ice blocks. They had 3 of these hairy creatures, and they were chowing down on a deer carcass. They had the way he described it, they had like the guts ripped out, entrails all over the place.
They were scooping the blood up in their hands and
lapping it up like a deer.
Ooh.
Exactly. Yes. Very. Yeah. That's a good description. They were slurping out the blood out of their hands. And one of the creatures, which he identified as a male, being from its stature and the way that it was built, a bit thicker than the other ones, suddenly jumped in straight, made a sound just like that.
That chick that just fucking messaged us on Instagram is gonna hate that.
I missed that.
The chick that got upset about you sounding like fucking Kermit the Frog's grandpa, always screaming.
Oh, yeah. I got more processing on Braden's voice now, so it doesn't jump through the mix like a fucking car bomb.
Well, everybody live? Yeah, you got lit, just like we did.
Hey, live, Skype's got an automatic built-in massive compressor, so it doesn't matter.
I leaned into that one too.
You did. you got red. You got red on your mic. You got red. You got red on Pro Tools.
I wasn't looking. Probably. Anyways.
So this creature comes barreling at
I guarantee
Hansen, sounding just like Braden.
Well, he's fucking related to the Iceman, right?
He choked himself.
Died. Hansen says he doesn't even recall shooting this thing, but
wasn't he froze? Like he described being frozen by that scream. Like fucking he kind of like the way they describe like the way lion or tigers and I forget what other animals are able to admit that like infrasound.
Like petrified.
That kind of freezes the prey.
I would be freaked out if some giant hairy man was running at me screaming like Braden.
Yeah, but there's no way. There's no freeze in me. I'm gone, bro. Yeah. Like lights out. Fucking Usain Habib Bolt. See you the fuck later. I'm gone, dude. The fastest mongoose you've ever seen.
So he doesn't remember shooting this thing, but he apparently put it down. He fires on it with his weapon and the round slams smack dab into one of the eye sockets, punching out the eye. Thing falls to the ground, and apparently
he said he deflected one with the arm too, right? Because that's how you got that fucking break the ulna.
Oh, we got one in the ulna. I think there's so maybe there was 2 shots.
Oh, so the Iceman put up a little arm brace.
Tried to pull a fucking Wonder Woman and just like deflect that shit.
Didn't have the bracers on though, so took one right off the fucking forearm.
Should've known better.
So it was either from that or is perhaps an injury sustained from postmortem from scavengers, because after Hansen shot this, or reportedly shot this creature, he kind of entered in some kind of daze, and he ended up wandering through the Minnesota wilderness, I guess, until happening into a camp of other hunters who kind of, took it all in stride. They didn't, he kind of asked for directions of where he was. He was kind of lost. I think he met back up with some of his other friends who had also been hunting that day. And so he enters into some kind of malaise after this because he has some sort of crisis of conscience about what he shot and what he saw that day because
So
he
it's just,
wasn't
like
sure.
too humanistic. Or-
Yeah, it was too human or something. He didn't know what it was. So
Have we talked about Bigfoot sightings in Minnesota at all, or like
Not yet. Not in Minnesota.
Because that's what I'm like. I would have this would have been a lot more easily for me to digest if maybe he like ran into this where he's off on tour in Vietnam and
so
blasted this fucking thing and brought it back with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that would have fucking, I don't know, Minnesota.
well, that's not but this is the story that he tells to the magazine. It's published in a nationally published magazine.
That's got to be true.
So
Has
yeah,
to be.
it's gotta be true. He specifically mentioned before writing it in the article that he was not being paid by the magazine. He did not receive 1 cent
Nice.
from the magazine
That's
to
a
tell
bonus.
his story.
That's a bonus
Yeah, but
right
it's
there.
free publicity, man.
Yeah, but
Getting all the 25 cents.
So,
Getting all of it.
makes it true.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the story gets even more weird because the fact that he actually, so a month after he killed this thing, or apparently killed this creature, he returned to the area where he shot it, determined to find it and bring it back. So
How long?
this is
long?
about a month.
So there's like, so it's been fucking decayed. It's been decomposing for a month.
When
Well,
he
enough it's
found it,
frozen.
what it is in the ice, that's how he found it. Because
What? He found it in a block of ice?
well, he found it because I don't know what he attributes the none of the total month decomposition, because he did mention that the deer carcass was completely gone. The deer carcass was gone, but this body, he found it buried under the snow of that December. I think it was, so this is like in December is when he went back. December 3rd, 1960. And he found this thing buried under the snow, not very much,
Perfect block of ice. Like this fucking
no,
thing.
not in the block of
It
ice.
was just a
but
frozen cadaver.
it was
This
frozen.
Still, like that does it like in a month. I don't like this fucking thing that we've seen looks like motherfucking Boba Fett selling it to fucking Jabba the Hutt in a perfect like carbonite. fucking.
Well,
You
that's
know what I mean?
because
Like, that's what it looks like.
He did what every good man does, and he brought this issue to his wife. He's like, I have this kind of frozen cadaver. What should I do with it? And Mrs. Hansen was like, I got it. I froze some trout a couple years back
They're
in
still
solid
good.
ice. They're still good. Let's throw that thing. Let's clear out the deep freeze. Throw that motherfucker in there, fill it with water, freeze him in a block of ice.
Like
And
a
he's like,
fucking 6
this
foot
is why I
deep
married
freeze?
you. This is why I married you, Mrs. Hansen.
Well, think about it.
and you think we're joking, but that is part of the story.
That's
yes,
the truth.
Oh, for
He
real?
did do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
They
the
put the kids
that's
to
the
bed.
real story.
They put the 3 kids to bed, brought in the cadaver, emptied out their freezer, their basement freezer filled with meat, and then they dumped the body inside of there, thinking that would be enough to preserve it. But by that Monday or something, they had realized that the smell was starting to kind of penetrate through the actual freezer and down in the
It's been
basement.
dead for a fucking month already. Like that's we're talking serious stages of decomposition.
Well, how
Rotten.
decomposed would it be if say it was, because Minnesota's fucking cold in the winter, so I'd say it was minus 30 Celsius for a month.
I don't.
I don't know.
question. I don't
I
know.
know.
I don't know either. To be honest,
I know
with
it
you.
still
I've never
decomposes.
dealt with
I
that.
know bodies still decompose when it's cold, but it's going to be at a
Slower rate.
very slow
But,
rate
like-
compared to not.
But like the whatever, like everything that they've talked about with this fucking guy, he really was not in any really advanced stages of
Dude,
Just a
decomposition.
little bit around his
at all.
mouth.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter. His fucking eyes would be gone. Any soft tissue would be gone. Dick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Balls
Like he
gone,
looks
eaten
like
by
as if
scavengers.
he died and was frozen immediately.
Well, maybe it's a
Like, that's-
maybe it's a really
that's the descri-
cold, really cold.
Like they describe him as well muscled.
maybe it's a minus like 75, like ridiculously cold winter night when he got.
If
killed.
anything, like at that point in time, he wouldn't be well muscled. He'd be bloated to fucking shit.
maybe this is
Yeah.
post bloating. He's gone back down.
Well, post bloating is like fucking scrawny and fucking like,
raisin-
just like hard and
Like
tiny.
a little raisin, like.
Yeah.
So another fantastic thing is that they kept, apparently, according to Hansen, they kept this cadaver in the freezer for 6 years. They kept it at 6 years. Even even they kept it in their freezer even when they moved. They had originally had that freezer in their home in a suburb of Duluth, Minnesota, where close to where Hansen had been stationed, but he was still in the Air Force. When he retired, they moved out to Rolling Stone, and then they had bought a farm there, and they had actually moved that freezer over there. And he went into detail about moving the freezer, saying that they didn't trust professional movers to do it, on the off chance that they would look inside, probably take a look, and then there would be questions, and they didn't want that to happen. So they rented out a truck, a moving truck. They had friends and family help them to move it into the truck, saying that it was the freezer was filled with meat. They didn't want it to spoil during the move, and they had lost the key to the freezer, so they couldn't even open it anyways.
Right.
So 6 years.
What a
He
fucking
was in
tale.
there for 6 years.
Why? Like, why is there anything credible about this guy? Like, why should we be taking this guy's fucking story?
I want to know why.
It's published
What
in a
has he
magazine.
done? Why?
He has the oldest tractor.
Yes,
Yeah, but other than that,
yeah.
what about this man is like, I don't know.
Okay, what about, because we've gone through, he originally said it's found on like the sea off the Russian coast, then it was by
the Bering Sea.
then it was
is
the
what I heard.
Japanese fishermen, and then now we're in Minnesota. He shot it, and a month later he finds it. What's going
So
on?
the wealthy guy doesn't exist then? There was no wealthy guy. He just shot
So,
this fucking thing himself.
In his version of the story, that he told the magazine, the saga, that's not in there. There's no mention of a wealthy benefactor.
So that's
there's no mention of there's a mention of a replica being made. Hansen tells the tale of him going to Hollywood, where he met Bud Westmore, who was in charge of the makeup department at Universal Studios, and Westmore had given him an estimate of like what it would cost to create a model. He gave him an estimate around $20,000. But he wouldn't personally do it because he was too busy. But he would go ahead and hire out the technical expertise to Hansen to create a quality fabrication of some type of this. So, he got this fakery. He managed to get that. I guess he borrowed a bunch of money. He took out a
Do we
loan.
know what
I don't
year
know
that
how you
was?
would get a loan for this. Hey, goes to the bank and says like, I'm going to write out on my loan. I need a loan to make
he
a
put up, dude. He
to make
probably
a
put up
freak
the world's
show.
oldest tractor.
Now, it could
He
have
probably
been.
put up the tractor for it.
That's
Must have.
valuable.
It has to be.
So then,
But
Dude, my grandpa had a Model T, pristine, before he passed.
that's fucking.
Someone bought it
Yeah,
at an
that-
auction for $90,000.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all, man. You see those going through Barrett Jackson every once in a while. Those things are fucking crazy expensive.
It was a Model T. It was pristine. It looked like it just came out of the line in I don't even know where the Model T was built, like 1912 or some shit. But it looked just like that, and he sold for 90 grand. So I can only imagine.
Just to fill the vaults of Casterly Rock, eh? You fucking Lannisters.
It was actually he was a married in grandpa, so he had nothing to do with Lannister bloodline. And we never actually seen any of that money. We're not sure where the money went. Maybe he had something to do with the fucking Minnesota Iceman.
yeah, Minnesota Iceman had to pay off the debt for the Minnesota Iceman loans. So he gets the idea. He starts after he retires from the Air Force. Hansen, this is still the story that he's telling to the magazine. Hansen retires, and he gets in this kind of funk, being like, being inactive, how a lot of retired people get, where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have all this time. What do I do? So
got all this time in the world's oldest tractor.
right. And then, he gets that oldest tractor. He finds that on his property or whatever in the barn or wherever they found it. And he starts.
He just randomly comes upon it.
Yeah. And he talks to somebody who's in the kind of carnival run business, not a carny, but I don't know.
Not quite a carny.
I don't know what
Somewhere
else to call
between
people who work
carny
at
and
carnivals,
regular
like-
person.
Carnies.
Carnies.
Fucking carnies.
If you're traveling in a carnival, you're a carny.
100%.
There you go.
So
Does he have all his fingers? I doubt it. He's a fucking carny.
So he talks to this
All
guy.
his
The guy
teeth?
says, yes,
Nope.
you can make money, exhibiting these things. You get to travel a lot. So it's not like a real job, but it's something it's just like a hobby you can do. So he kind of does that. I guess he gets high on the fame of having the world's oldest tractor. And he's like, this isn't enough. I need more. So I need to exhibit the Minnesota Iceman.
How the fuck am I going to turn these nickels?
I'm going to
into
take the
25
corpse,
cents?
the dead corpse that's been in my basement for 6 years, and I'm going to put that on exhibit. That somehow in his brain is a good idea. I don't know how that works.
I don't
Really
understand.
don't.
Like you have this, so you supposedly have this fucking unexplained creature that no one's ever seen. And the best way of monetizing that is by taking it to fucking carnivals.
How else are you going to monetize it?
No. By fucking being like, listen, call your fucking local government. Like, this is fucking Bigfoot. This is the 60s. Bigfoot is around in the 60s.
No,
Hey, see, you know what, Andrew? This is why you're not rich, because you're short-sighted. Okay? What are you going to get a payout 1 year when you can get quarters
Buddy.
every day for the rest of your
But
life?
you're going to be famous. You're the guy that shot motherfucking Bigfoot. There's going to be movies about you, dude. There's not going to be Dutch and
Well,
fucking
no.
Predator. There's going to be Mr. fucking Hansen shooting motherfucking Bigfoot through the
riding
eye.
his old-ass tractor.
If it bleeds, it dies,
Dude,
bro.
he didn't.
Like, listen.
He didn't claim it was Bigfoot. He claimed it was like a sub. They always claimed it was like a pre-human species, not necessarily. It wasn't actually Bigfoot, but
Which is crazy.
I gotta-
You would have took that right away. You would have been, guy would have been instantly famous being the dude that took that
kinda
fucking thing out.
I kind of got a theory.
all right.
All
Let's
right,
hear
lay
it.
it
I
on
got a
us.
theory. All right. So, if you Google the world's oldest tractor in existence,
All right.
it's the Mechwarts, which is a German-made tractor. So let's go back to about 1942 Nazi Germany. Just kidding.
Back to Nazis, are we?
Got to bring it
Brain's
back
like,
to the
that's as far
Nazis.
as I got.
No. So this is what I think. I think Hansen is a bit of a con man. There's no fucking way he had the world's oldest tractor. He didn't. The world's oldest tractor is a Mechwarts, a
I don't think he
German
ever
made.
said it was the
it's a-
world's oldest tractor. I think it was like one of the first
Gas-powered.
produced.
Dude, in his-
Gas-powered
it was the-
ones.
it was
the
It's
first
world's
obituary.
oldest tractor.
It was the first.
in his obituary, it says the owner of the world's oldest tractor.
Yeah, but it's actually the world's oldest gas-powered tractor is what what the actual claim is, I believe.
So there you go. He's a con man. He's been lying
All right.
this entire fucking time.
So, anyways, what I think has happened is and this might seem outlandish at first, but stick with me.
All right, we got you.
I think he was approached by,
Jimmy Stewart?
a benefactor. No, not Jimmy Stewart. I think he painted.
Cary Grant.
I think as a person like him, as he's like telling these stories and fabricating to sell the story, it was more easy to sell at the time to be like, hey, it's a big time Hollywood movie star that helped me buy this. But I think in reality, the origin of this thing may be a little more nefarious. I think he was approached by like a mafia boss or someone connected with the mafia who had,
What
we
mafia?
got this fucking
The
Japanese,
Minnesota Mafia.
Italian. What kind of mafia are we
Who
talking?
else? La
But why?
Famiglia?
But he'll forget Minnesota. Like it's only Minnesota because of him,
Right.
right? So what I'm saying is, he's approached by the mafia, and they're like, "Hey,
The triads.
this guy comes and says he sees him and sees what he's doing, and if you've seen the Unexplained Mysteries, he goes, "Hey, I got something that might interest you," and they give him this cadaver in ice, and they say, "Hey, you know what? You're gonna put this thing up for a quarter. We want a nickel, whatever, right?" And so he starts going around and doing his thing, right? The Iceman this, the Iceman this. It starts to get notoriety around town, right? Of like, holy shit, this thing's starting to attract scientists, right? All of a sudden, he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to let these scientists come. They want to examine. They were going to take course, and they're like, nah, you're not going to do that. Like, this is fucking serious.
It's fake. Hey, listen, it's fucking fake. All right.
Listen, you're not going to
Don't
do
worry
that, or
about
you're
it.
going to end up like the Iceman. And he's like, whoa, okay, like, so all right, I won't let anyone touch it. He's like, yeah, you're not going to let anyone touch it.
So you're telling me the mob the mob wanted them to put it on fucking display in a carnival?
Yes. And
Okay.
I'll get.
So how does that come about? Is what my question.
Well,
Why? Why do we
Here
go
it
to
comes.
that?
Here it comes.
So what
Why does it go to that?
What I think is, I think it was like a way to like send a message or insult like a rival mob family. Honestly, and it seems outlandish.
All right. Listen, hey, gather around. All right. Everybody knows we got Frankie here. All right. Frankie's been going around fucking town acting a gabagool, and we got to take care of him. Okay. So how are we going to fucking take care of our boy fucking Frankie? Huh? What do you think? Let's go. Let's hear your ideas.
I kind of got. You know what? Never mind. You guys never.
No, listen, Anthony, listen to me, Anthony. This is a fucking safe place, my friend. You're my sister's cousin's fucking nephew, okay? If you can't say it here, you can't fucking say it anywhere. Let's hear it, my friend.
Well, nah, you guys never use my ideas anyway. Ask Jimmy or
Come on,
something.
guys. Give him some fuck. Look, come on, Anthony. Let's go.
Anthony.
Okay. All right. Well, this is gonna sound crazy, but I got a guy who knows a guy who's got the oldest tractor.
No.
Is in a carnival, goes all around town. So I say, let's shoot this motherfucker in the head. Fucking tar and feather him like some sort of ape, freeze him in a block of ice, parade him around like the missing link, send a message. That'll send a message, right? Right, boss?
I mean, Anthony, I'm going to say something. That's
I know it's stupid.
That's a little
It's
different.
stupid.
No, Anthony,
stupid.
that's fine. All right. Listen, Anthony, great idea. I got a plan. Why don't you go get some fucking pizza pies and we'll talk it over. We'll set some plans. We'll get these fucking wheels in motion.
We're going to do it? We're going to do it, boss?
I think so. Just you go get the fucking pies. Come on.
Oh, thanks, boss.
Hey, Scram, go.
All right.
All right. Hey, fucking Sal, is he gone?
He's gone.
He's fucking
He's
gone?
fucking gone.
Go follow that motherfucker down the street and pop on the back of the fucking head and turn his ass into the fucking Fred Flintstone popsicle, okay?
Yeah, you got it, boss. You got it,
Don't
boss.
nobody bring those fucking stupid ideas around here.
I've had enough of this guy for a long time. You got it.
But for real though, okay, this guy brings this Iceman to Canada. He goes to Canada. He gets stopped at the border on the way back, and they're like, "Hey, we need to test the thing because it might be a cadaver." The FBI's involved at this point, right? We think that they might be, tipping off the Border Patrol, being like, "Test it if it's a cadaver. We want to know." The U.S. government wants to know. All of a sudden, this guy's like, "Fuck, I fucked up. I didn't let anyone know I was bringing this to Canada." He calls his guy who's, and he's like, "Hey, listen, I'm in Canada. I brought the Iceman. They won't let me back. They want to test it. They think it's a cadaver." And they're like, "You fucked up big time, right? We're going to settle this, but now you owe us."
No, you
All of a
fucked
sudden-
up because you let this fucking rando guy take your fucking murder victim around the fucking world and putting it on fucking display.
Not
It's your
around
own
the
fucking
world,
fault. That is
right?
the worst
Just around
fucking thing ever.
Minnesota.
No,
To
it's
send a
fucking
message.
terrible. That's stupid.
Minnesota,
That's
Canada.
ridiculous.
Clears up in 24 hours, right? They come. All of a sudden, the body's gone. They come and take the
Because
body
he
away.
doesn't want people to know he's a
worst
fucking
mafia hit
scam
ever.
artist. He's a fucking scam
just
artist. And he's
saying-
about to get exposed.
It's interesting to me that when they want to test the body, he makes a couple calls, it clears up. Then he comes up with the story that he shot this thing, and then all of a sudden the body is a noticeable fake.
It sounds like a guy that this is his only means of making fucking money.
It sounds
and
like a
he's
guy who
backpedaling.
fucked up, said he shot something. It turned out it was a real body, and he's like, "Fuck, I got to get rid of this thing because I'm telling everyone that I shot this thing." And it's a person in there.
So
Why wouldn't they? Like, I don't understand. Why?
well,
Like,
there's a few options. Like number one, he got it. It could have been a murder victim from across the ocean. It could have been someone. It could have been a triad hit. It could have been a fucking Soviet mob hit. It could have been a lot of things. Some guy who was a super hairy. It could have been a fucking Soviet man-ape hybrid.
super Stalin ape.
Stalin ape. But either way, it was a living, breathing person, let's say. This guy ends up with it through whatever means. He starts fabricating stories left and right. He's not sure what to say. He tells one story, people question him. He changes his story to something else, maybe a little more believable. Changes it again. Now he shot this motherfucker in Minnesota. Like he's reeling. This guy is reeling through stories. He's not sure what to believe. Now he takes this fucking corpse across border. He tries to come back, and the American border guard's like, "No."
Why did you do that in the first place when your fucking 25 cents is only worth half anyways?
Yeah, don't go. Why are you going north?
It's not worth
Stupid.
it.
Why are you going across the
Stupid.
border? Go
Listen,
south.
I mean, this isn't his first mistake. This whole fucking thing's a mistake.
Right.
This whole plan was a mistake. Listen, you have this fucking dude frozen in ice and you take it and you put it on display in a carnival. Terrible idea. You thaw that fucking guy. You fucking shave him down. You take him to high school. He's your friend. You name him Stony. You take him and you wheeze the fucking juice with him. He beats up your bullies. And there you go. Bingo, bango, bongo. You got your
have a
fucking
I like
cool
that.
ass Brendan
righteous
Fraser
party.
best
You
friend.
Other
thaw
than-
out his girlfriend,
Yep.
Yeah.
and she's smoking.
How
It's a
come there was
no-brainer. It's cool.
never a sequel? I wanted to see Encino Man 2.
I really did
That movie
too.
was fucking
Fucking
amazing.
so good.
That is a phenomenal movie.
Brendan
Um,
Fraser, we miss you.
It's
He was a dreamboat back
holy
then.
fuck, man.
He was a fucking dreamboat, man.
Okay.
God damn.
We went
Yeah.
I
I
think we
lost my train of thought thinking about Brendan Fraser in the 90s.
Okay, I will just give a quick update about the Minnesota Iceman.
Update. Here it
So
comes.
the last thing that we know about the whereabouts of the Minnesota Iceman is that in 2013, the genuine article, heavy quotes, heavy air quotes, turned up on eBay and was sold to the Austin Museum of Weird
Yep.
in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
So if you really, it's still there. So if you live in Austin, you want to check it out, it's down there.
But that, Dan,
I heard it a little differently. Like I heard that the initial sign was for sale on eBay. And then the guy who bought it was a person that was obsessed with the Iceman. And he was the guy that created the fucking Austin Museum of Weird. And then that sent him down the rabbit hole of finding the Iceman. And then it turns out that the Iceman reverted back to the fucking benefactor's family and it was passed down through their family. And then they were like, yeah, take this fucking thing. We don't want it.
I think they had the general. I know that it's like they had probably the
I
genuine
want to
replica.
see this fucking
the
eBay ad.
replica
I would love
thing.
to see it.
it's the replica though. That's what I'm pretty sure. So if you're going to go with the story,
It's the sideshow. It's this. Well, that was listed as like the sideshow gaff.
yeah. So if you're going with
yeah.
the story, there was the original Iceman, which may have been the murder victim or whatever.
may or missing link may or may not have existed,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
there is a real replica that existed or exists now.
There was the missing link or the murder victim or whatever the theory goes. And then it was when he was pushed to provide like medical samples to like pathologists and stuff or coroners to like, oh, we have to know if this thing's an actual person or not. And he said, no, fuck that. Then he reverted to a latex corpse. And that latex corpse is the one that persisted, goes the story. And the original, no one really knows what happened to the original Minnesota Iceman, if it was even
'Cause
real.
it didn't exist.
If it was real.
But
if it
like
was
what we
real.
do know,
There was something.
there was something there. What we do know,
yeah,
the weird
silicone
feet,
hairy thing.
the weird feet, the weird hands, the fucking potential gunshot wound. There's some weirdness
That's
to
the
it.
one thing. That's the one thing. Because I'm like, if they're gonna make a fake fucking dummy, why bother giving it the injury?
Exactly.
That's the one thing.
Especially
That's
one
the
like
one thing
that.
that jumps out to me.
Especially one like that. If you're gonna make a corpse, it's like, oh yeah, we made your corpse. He's like, now fucking pop out one of its eyes, make it look like it got shot, and the bullet ricocheted around, pop one of its eyeballs out, and blew out the back of its fucking head, just for details.
I don't. If
Brayden's
it's got
stuck in
an
the
exit
wise
wound,
guy
it doesn't
accent now.
ricochet. It goes straight out. It goes in and straight out.
Hmm.
Yeah, when there's an exit wound, it doesn't ricochet. It's a large enough caliber.
Okay, well, I'm
to
just
block
saying
was a
the
maybe
small-
the
exit wound.
maybe
maybe
the
the
small
force
caliber.
going in one eye and exiting
Yeah,
just
but it
blew
was
out
small
the
caliber wouldn't cause an exit wound like that.
Well,
I
we're
will-
not
I
sure about
will
the exit
say-
wound yet, though, right? That was
Oh,
one.
well, he said exit wound.
It was one
And
account of the
ricochet.
exit wound, but no one else corroborated the exit wound.
corroborated.
Corroborated.
Yeah.
No one else corroborated the exit wound.
My
That's I'm disappointed because before this podcast was a little bit delayed because Zell's like, boys, I've been fucking day drinking. I'm drunk. And I'm like, yes, we finally get drunk asshole Zell. It's going to be fun.
And all we
the
get is
only slip up we
corroborated.
get is corroborated. That's it.
I've been
Nothing
holding
fucking-
it together real well after this bottle
That's
of whiskey
bullshit.
and a few.
I was ready for you to come unhinged.
No, I haven't come on Hinge since episode 18. As the birth of Ron Pond.
I was
You
hoping
hyped
for
us.
fucking my Tacomas in Afghanistan.
That's
Unhinged.
only live. That's only live show, Zell, where you get the Tacoma Afghanistan story. Different. Anyways, we got
final thoughts on Iceman.
Yeah, we got a long way in Iceman. I'll start. Here it is. If a fucking ancient hominid or quadruped animal got killed for whatever reason, it would have to be flash frozen to be preserved. Like killed, and for whatever reason, something happens, it was flash frozen deep in and then like falls into a cavern and it's like covered up, and then through like some type of earthquake, the ice cracks and it falls into the ocean and someone scoops it up. That's the only way you could flash freeze a body. You couldn't like have a body be killed through some type of like, it looks like a projectile wound, judging by the accounts. So if it was a projectile wound and you fell and you died and you slowly, it's not going to last that long. It's just not going to. So for me, it'd have to be, because they originally said like, oh, it's maybe a prehistoric, the missing link between man and ape. But if that's the case, then it would have to be like it got hit by maybe it got hit by a fucking meteor or something, and instantly flash frozen somehow through some type of freak weather phenomenon. That's the only way you could have it flash frozen and persist through the ages. It could not just be like slowly frozen and then scooped up, first of all, in the water, in a block of ice. It just doesn't make sense. If it was in like maybe it was in like a fucking iceberg, like deep in the center, like not anything touching the water. So, I mean, this obviously, after talking about it for a while, it just doesn't seem like it was a legitimate ice. It didn't look like a Bigfoot. It looked like a Neanderthal. It didn't look like a cryptid through the pictures. So my final thoughts is it was somewhere between, maybe not necessarily a hoax, but maybe a fucking murder cover up. That's what I think. And then when he got found out, he ditched the body and made a fucking latex replica. That's what I think. Next.
All right. Well, my final thoughts will get a little weirder. I like the idea
to Nazi Germany.
of Stalin's man ape. When was that? 1929, Dan? Do you remember the years for the Stalin's man ape when they were working on that?
Oh, it was Stalin, man. Not off the top of my head.
It was early on, but imagine this, okay? So, because I never thought about the Stalin man ape. We know that Russia had like Arctic bases, and we know Russia had Arctic bases that because of shifting ice and melting ice, they just left, and they were like, our base will be in the middle of the ocean, it'll sink, and we're just going to leave them. You know, we learned about stuff like this on ATT classified Operation High Jump. No, Operation
Gladio.
What's the one where they dropped into the Arctic Russian base? Do you remember that one, Dan?
Was that
Operation Cold Feet?
Operation Cold Feet. So Russia had Arctic bases that they had just left because they're like, these bases will be part of the sea soon. There's one that we know of for sure. Does that mean that there could be ones that we don't know about? Possibly. So let's say Stalin was actually doing these experiments with man apes, and this one happened to be executed, right, in the deep Arctic, right, and then just left on a frozen slab. There's not going to be many predators to pick up the corpse and stuff, and then it's piled with snow, and then it freezes underneath, and then through melting ice, it chips apart and is picked up in the 60s, 30 years later in the Arctic, like they say, drifting in like an iceberg or something.
Yep.
Right? Maybe that's a possibility. I didn't look at that because I didn't make this Stalin man ape connection. But now that I think about it more, I'm like, that could be what this is. And then this is just Hansen trying to get some fame by saying like, it is shot in the head. I shot it. I shot this thing.
Gotcha. Okay. I like that.
Mafia hit.
Boom.
Mafia hit. I will say that I genuinely enjoyed this case because it is supremely bizarre.
Yeah.
Because you start off with this, you know, from my childhood, I remember this thing very, very prominently in my cryptid, you know, interest as a kid. I was like, I remember this thing being frozen ice. I'm like, wow, what is that? You don't know what it is. It is frozen in ice. Nobody's ever gotten to really examine it, what happened to it. So this is something that I've always kind of wanted to look into. And now that I've seen it, it is genuinely interesting, if not for the lack of evidence that there was so much effort put forth to obtain evidence. You know, it wasn't immediately written off by the Smithsonian being like, when they were contacted, they were genuinely interested. There were many interested parties. You had the Smithsonian, you had the FBI. Apparently the King Leopold III of Belgium actually took a personal interest in this as well, because of his association with Heuvelmann. Heuvelmann was friends with, they had an intermediary, they were close friends. And so it is so crazy to look into this and see all these weird connections that this case kind of brought together. And it's just really amazing to me. And Hoovelman, even though he is, what do you want to call him? One of the godfathers of cryptozoology. And maybe he's trying to prove his theories than trying to, support them with, the actual evidence. Kind of just tries to make leaps and bounds in logic, a lot of that kind of stuff. But he is when he writes about his account of this saga of the Minnesota Iceman, he wants to know what it is. That's really what it's all about. You want to know what it is. Was there something actually there? Was it a fake? Was it a fake the whole time, or did they actually switch it out?
Right.
That's the real big question. And it's just like something was there.
Dude,
that's undeniable. There's photographic evidence. They took photos. Something was there.
Without Hansen actually giving his firsthand account publicly, it's really hard to nail it down.
Right. And then Hansen goes on to tell this fantastic tale. And I use fantastic in like the weird way, not like it's great, but more in like it's fantastical.
Yeah.
Of shooting this thing in the Minnesota wilderness and then spending 6 years with this corpse in his basement. Like that's even more insane than him just being like, no, I just switched it out. And then, then there's the fact that he told the people that the benefactor took the original corpse and then left him a replica. Why leave him a replica at all? There's just so much that is just like, that just, really made me laugh about this. And just like, this is so amazing that all this weird stuff happens surrounding this carnival sideshow that it's, you never know. It's one of those things like you can go to a carnival sideshow and you'll never know the story behind some of this stuff. Like there are people who probably saw this thing and they're just like, oh, wow, that's great. Like that's a real cool model guy. Like they just went in there like, wow, that's really neat. Probably people saw this as teenagers and they never knew that this was some world shaking, international reaching event in
one day that alien theorists would be talking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next.
Andrew?
I think it is what Dan finished with, a carnival sideshow. I think the fucking, believe it or not, I know it's shocking, but I don't think the fucking
Ripley's Believe It or Not
oldest tractor was pulling in the fucking cake. This guy hoped it would. I think the sales started to fizzle once you saw it once and he needed a new attraction. And he came up with a fucking cool idea. And that's all I think it was. I think it was a fucking awesome idea.
So wait.
And I think...
So the guy, the mysterious man who approached him and said, hey, I have a proposition for you.
Man with oldest tractor.
Didn't we already talk about this?
Exist. Now, fuck you. Don't even start with me with that shit. Listen, the game's been over for a long time. I've been paying attention.
He's in. He's locked in.
Right?
He'll never make that mistake again.
Never. Fuck you. I'm off the wine too. Dude, I can't drink wine during case file.
That fucks him up.
That was the
fucks him up.
That was killer, dude. It puts me on another planet. Stay off the wine at 9. It's not good for you.
Get the wine in you.
Let's get into a little bit of space news. This is a kind of a cool story. The ashes of Scotty from Star Trek were smuggled aboard the International Space Station. They had to be smuggled because NASA basically turned down an official request to bring his ashes aboard. But Richard Garriott, one of the first private citizens to travel to the space station, actually smuggled it aboard.
That's awesome.
He laminated a picture of Doohan, and some of his ashes were put under the floor of the Columbus, and he didn't tell anyone about it. Just brought it up and then didn't tell anyone till well afterwards, because it had been prohibited. So good on Richard Garriott for doing that. That's cool. Cool story.
He didn't try. So he brought him up there, but he didn't like launch him through the airlock or something. He just brought him up.
Maybe he did. Oh, I think
just
what it is.
him up.
I think there's a framed picture of him up there with his ashes in the ISS.
That's sweet.
And he died in 2005 at the age of 85. But obviously, to sci-fi fans and
That's
had
that's
a big
OG.
impact.
He was the OG one from original
Yep.
Star Trek.
Dude was a legitimate badass, certified badass.
Boom. That's cool.
We don't have a lot of space news this week. I think that's because everyone's taking time off between the holidays rather than writing articles about space news.
Space news.
But what we do have is we have we'll give you some big things that we're looking forward to in 2021. Big space missions coming up.
Yeah.
First off, we have 3 Mars exploration programs
Hell
going
yeah.
on in 2021. The United Arab Emirates expect their Hope Orbiter Hope Orbiter to arrive by February 9th. NASA's Perseverance rover will attempt a landing on February 18th, and a Chinese lander will arrive on April 23rd. What else we got there, Zell? You read one, drunkie.
Drunkie. I won't comment what you just said, but yes, you got those 3. NASA will launch their first test for its new planetary defense project, the Double Asteroid Redirection Test. Pretty much, they're gonna, which is about the size of a small car, will deliberately crash into an asteroid moon. So it's some type of small rock orbiting an asteroid to see if they can knock it off orbit to potentially extrapolate that to knocking off an asteroid that's on a collision course with Earth later. So if someone's going to annihilate
or
us,
to drop it on a rival country.
well, I mean, it depends on the fairest you want to get, but yes, if you can if it's going
Dash drivers.
if it's going to hit,
Let's go.
if it's going to hit East Coast USA, you want to knock it off. You want to hit the other side of the Earth, China or whatever the current enemy may be of the United States. Yes.
Gonna get the we need one big enough to split the moon in 2 so we can get the Thundar the barbarian situation going. You need that world of magic and mega science that needs to be happening right now.
Anyways, they're going to crash into the asteroid moon of, I don't know if this is the way to say it. Didymos.
Sounds cool.
The asteroid Didymos, it's moon. So
Demos?
We also have space tourism kicking back off. The Russian state space corporation Roscosmos says it plans to offer space tours in 2021. They're going to fly up 2 tourists to the International Space Station in 2021, and this will be the first time a tourist has been to the station in 12 years, following the 2009 flight of Canadian billionaire Guy Laperté.
Liberty.
I think he's a billionaire from syrup. I think. I don't know for
from
sure.
where?
What do you think? He's a barrel roller?
I think he's a barrel roller.
He's a barrel roller.
I don't know. That's all I have for space news this week. A little slow week, but that's okay. Space news ebbs and flows.
Yeah, let's I'm just gonna quickly talk about Project Artemis. So next year they're sending an Orion spacecraft on a loop around the moon without a pilot. So that'll be the first NASA mission around the moon since the Apollo missions. So
Since ever.
So there's cool stuff coming. A lot of space news on the forefront. That's just the prelims. The prelims, I would say.
We've gone a little long. Fire up the Randomatron. Let's just fire it up for a short fan submission.
Fan submission.
Let's say 300 words or less. Let's see what they got.
All right. Let me get quick 1 second. Here we go. Dial up. Here it comes. Teletype. Getting it?
Yes. So this fan submission is a nice short one from Jason. I'm a mailman in Arizona, and one day I was delivering my route as usual. I was delivering to a small gated community that is pretty quiet. It was a stop where everyone's mail is located in one spot. So I was just throwing the mail, and I heard what sounded like something hitting a hollow metal, like if you hit your hand on a car door or something like that. I turned around because I knew nobody pulled up behind me, and I just saw feathers falling from the sky. about 20 or 30 feet up, but there was absolutely nothing there. I didn't see a bird or anything in the sky, but I know there was nothing visible that bird could have hit. Anyways, love you guys' show, listening to you guys while I'm delivering the mail, and I have no fucking idea what I witnessed.
What?
So it's Jason. So basically, he's delivering the mail. He's got his head down. He hears like something hitting the side of a car door
Boom.
above his head. He looks up. There's nothing there. There's just feathers everywhere coming down.
So a bird hit a UFO. Or a
Potentially,
UFO
or
hit a
some
bird.
sort of flying object, right? Very quickly. That's an interesting, because it paints a very interesting story of something traveling very fast, right? And
Well, think about.
interesting.
Remember when was it Randy Johnson hit the fucking
Randy Johnson nailed that bird.
hit the bird with
Yeah.
the fucking ball on a fastball
Yeah.
or whatever?
Fastball.
Which is like they're like
Maybe the bird just spontaneously
it
combusted.
just
exploded in a
exploded.
million pieces, and they're like that's a 1 in
Yeah.
10 million chance that bird would have got hit by that ball.
But he doesn't say there was bird bits everywhere. All he says is he saw feathers. Because I imagine that if there was some sort of like unidentified flying craft that was flying above and hit something, let's say like not a Canada goose, because
So you get like
the
pancaked
UFO
and
would have
stay on the fucking
UFO
UFO.
would
yeah,
ex-
and then the
ex-
feathers
disintegrated.
left, but the actual like big parts of the body would be far away from where Jason the mailman was standing. Just the
Or it's
feathers.
stuck on the grill.
So it could have
UFO.
been something like a hawk grabbed another bird.
No,
No,
nope.
Well, yes, Dan. Other than the fact that he said
No,
he heard
listen,
a hollow
hey,
metal-like
the first rule
sound.
of bird law is no bird-on-bird violence. We know this. All right, that's fucking bird law. You should know it.
But
I'm pretty sure I
the
seen
hollow metal sound, right? That's the
it hit
reason
something.
why I'm gonna lean towards it hit something.
Okay, so a bird hit a metallic object, or a metallic object hit a bird.
Maybe above him. Anyways, we don't filter any stories in the Randomtron. If you send them in, you can send a short one in like Jason.
Yep.
Every now and then they get plugged in and they randomly pop up. So shoot them to alientheorists or at gmail.com.
That's correct. Yeah, there's
It's alien theorists
the
with an
wrist
S
with an S.
at gmail.com.
Hey, you can tell
Whoever holds the handle alien theorist at gmail.com, they're getting a lot of fucking junk mail from us, from our show.
Yeah, there's a lot can happen in a short story. A lot.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good
They
one.
paint a good picture. That's a good little short story.
yep,
Yeah.
cool shit.
Good.
All right. Moving on to
Theoret of the week.
Theoret of the
No.
week first.
Yeah.
I think Andrew dug one up.
Do you remember it?
Andrew and Doug,
Yeah, it's
Dug
good.
one up this week.
This guy's a fucking beauty.
what'd you come up with this week?
If anybody's on our Facebook group, they were blessed to see Mr. Tim Maitland's Christmas special photo that he posted on our Facebook group. A whole lot of handsome in one
Yep,
photo.
his
It was hard to
godlike
digest.
physique stretched
Mm,
leads
in front of the fireplace. Like,
Yeah.
oh
Yep.
man, guy's an Adonis.
Adonis of a
It was
man,
fantastic.
like Mr. G,
Yeah.
Mr. GC himself from our Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Fucking right. Oh yeah.
Anyways,
man.
Tim Maitland, you are the Theoret of the week for that amazing picture, and you're also got a lot of people involved in his Theorite dog post. Poster
Yeah, that
poster
was a good one.
doggos.
Everybody loves theorite dogs. Everybody loves dogs.
Everyone loves
Most
fucking
people.
dogs. Poster dogs. If you want to poster dogs, or you
We
want
like dogs. We like dags.
We love Dags. You like Dags?
We like dags.
you like
Love
dags.
dags.
You just want to, or you want
I'll fight you,
you just
first.
want to come onto the Theorite group. Search on Facebook, Alien Theorists, or Theorite official community.
Put your dogs in our t-shirts.
Get your dogs out there. You don't get paid for your dog's
Just
face.
Put our
but
stuff on your dogs. Take pictures.
anyways, Tim Maitland, you're the man. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. Now, if you're not supporting the show on Patreon,
Suck it.
you get early access to case files, bonus content, live streams, Discord access, whatever else we can try and convince you to support your favorite podcasts. We do. This week's newest Patreon supporters are Alexandria, Taylor, Kawazo, Izzy, Miss Anthropic, Kidney Thief. Kidney Thief? Easy.
Beans or
Yeah, what are we
organs?
talking about here?
Both.
Peyton Mickiff, Jamie Black, Eric Garcia, Christian, Slug Dog, and Ass Rash. Get that checked out.
My son's got one
Yeah.
of those right now.
Check that shit out. So thank you very much for supporting the show. We fucking appreciate it.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
See you on After Hours.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort, meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.